Yo guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another episode of Premier League Talk. Game week 36 has just been played. There are only 2 more weekends of the Premier League now up until the end of the season. And what a crazy, wacky weekend we had. The title race was pretty much decided. Relegation, we had our first victim. The top 4 race is starting to heat up a bit as well. So there were some cracking results. As usual, we're just going to run through the results. I'm going to pick out 3 games to talk about. But yeah, let's head straight into it. So we'll start with Saturday, where Leeds drew 2-2 with Newcastle. An incredible game. 3 penalties were given. Bamford missed 1. Wilson bagged 2. Ayling getting the first goal for Leeds. Look, Leeds, they're still in trouble. They're in 18th at the moment. They're 1 point away from safety. They really do need to start picking up results somewhere. They've got 2 games left. I'm sure they'll be able to find something. Newcastle, still in the top 4. Not too worried about them. They're only 1 point ahead of Liverpool, but they do have a game in hand, so I wouldn't be too worried. Villa, they beat Spurs 2-1. That was huge for Villa as they look to get European football, whether that's Conference League or Europa League. Incredible result for them. Chelsea drew 2-2 with Nottingham Forest. Not much really to say there. Forest, they're in 16th. I don't think they'll go down, but they still need points from somewhere. Palace, they won 2-0 against Bournemouth. Man United managed to see off Wolves 2-0. Southampton lost 2-0 to Fulham. We will come back to that game. Then we move on to Sunday. Brentford managed to beat West Ham 2-0. We will be back to that one. Everton, looking so promising in the first 35 minutes. They've got absolutely battered by Manchester City. Finished 3-0. And then thanks to this later result, Arsenal got hammered 3-0 by Brighton at the Emirates. Arsenal just ran out of energy. It's kind of clear to see the players are tired. Brighton dominated the game. But after that result, Manchester City are now 1 win away from clinching the Premier League title. They beat Chelsea at home next weekend. They are champions of England. So huge result for Manchester City. Arsenal, they've already confirmed they will be finishing second, but the title is nearly gone now. And then finally, last night, Leicester lost 3-0 to Liverpool. And that was a really interesting game because Leicester, they're in 19th at the moment. They're 2 points away from safety, but they played the same amount of games as everyone around them. So they really do need to start picking up points from somewhere, and I'm not really sure where they're going to come from. Liverpool, they're now 1 point behind the top 4, but they have played a game in hand of. They have played one more game than Manchester United and Newcastle. So when they get in the top 4 or not remains to be seen. But yeah, as I said, the first game that I really want to talk about today is Villa 2, Spurs 1. Now, Emery, I just want to say, has done a tremendous job since he's come back into the Premier League. Obviously, got sacked with Arsenal about 4 years ago now. Comes back in. He's turned Villa from a side that was threatened with relegation at the start of the season into a side that's now pushing for Europa Conference League football. Villa, I'm not sure where they sit at the moment. They're in 8th at the moment. They're level on points with Spurs in 7th. And only 1 point behind Brighton in 6th, but Brighton have 2 games in hand on both of those sides. So realistically, there's still a huge chance that Villa could be in for Europa Conference League here. And I don't write them off at all. I mean, seriously good opportunity for them. As I said, they've had a phenomenal season. Bailey's really turned around his form. I think Tyrone Mings has been exceptional. Alex Moreno, since he's come in, has been phenomenal. Ollie Watkins has been not as good as a couple of years ago, but he's still on form. Buendia, the list goes on. They've had a phenomenal turnaround since Gerrard, and you have to give full credit to Unai Emery. I think they've been absolutely exceptional. Spurs, on the other hand, they're still managerless. Ryan Mason is currently in charge. Not sure who their manager is going to be. We know now that it will not be Julian Nagelsmann. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens at Spurs over the summer. This summer is going to be really interesting because Chelsea, for example, Pochettino, it's nearly confirmed now. Spurs, they need to get in a new manager, see the signings that are going to be made. Arsenal apparently lining up 200 million plus for Caicedo and Rice. They've got the green light from the Cronkies. So we really do have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, not a great result for Spurs. As I said, they're now level on points with Aston Villa, having played the same amount of games, sitting in a Conference League spot. They're 2 points behind Brighton, but Brighton have played 2 games less. So I can't see them getting Europa League. But it was a cracking game at Villa Park. It really was. Jacob Ramsey scoring in the 8th minute. Just phenomenal. The second game I want to talk about today is Southampton versus Fulham. Now, we said goodbye to Southampton after an 11-year stay in the Premier League. They were officially relegated on Saturday. And again, Saturday just confirmed why they were absolutely woeful. I think Southampton have a few really good key players. You think Ward-Prowse, Lavia, Kyle Walker-Peters. But the rest of this, Sulemana, The rest of their squad is just distinctly average. I think they were a championship side in the Premier League, staying too high up in their ground. And look, I think dropping down to the championship would be a good thing for them. They can get in some players, some young talent, build. I'm not sure Southampton will come straight back up, to be honest. I really can't see it. But if they do, you know what, fair play. It remains to be seen whether Ruben Seller stays on as manager or not. We'll have to wait and see. But I think this was a good thing for Southampton, and it was coming. We all knew it was coming. It's been coming for a long while, so it's a shame, but I'm sure they'll be back within the next 5 years. As I said, I can't see them coming straight back up again next season, but I'm sure they will be back. Fulham, on the other hand, didn't really change much for them. They remain in 10th place. They're 2 points behind Brentford. They played the same amount of games in hand. The European dream was real for Fulham, but now I feel is a step too far, which is a shame because I think they've been phenomenal this season. To think that the relegation side has come up from the Championship and gone straight into the top 10, I think is phenomenal. And they're beating their West London rivals Chelsea in the league. So that is just incredible. And fair play to them. You know, Carlos Vinicius, I think, has had a phenomenal season by his rankings, which is just brilliant. I also think that Mitrovic, he came back from injury, got himself a goal. So huge for them. And you know what, fair play, because they've had a great season, and it shows with results like that. The final game I want to talk about is Brentford versus West Ham. A goal from Brian Mbeumo and a goal from Wissa give Brentford the win. Brentford, as I said just then, they remain in ninth. Not much really happening for them. I think next season will definitely be a chance for them to push for European football. This year, I think it's just a step too far. They're 4 points behind Villa in 8th, 4 points behind Spurs in 7th, but they played the same amount of games. So, as I say, I think it's just a step too far. Look, they've got some phenomenal players. It would be really interesting to see whether they keep hold of Tony at the moment and whether he gets banned or not. And Bemo, he's a brilliant player. Rico Henry, Visa, Yanel, they've got some incredible players, Brentford. If they build on that in the summer, then I definitely don't see why they wouldn't be able to make a push for European football next season. West Ham, on the other hand, they remain in 15th. They weren't quite able to seal safety on Sunday. They're on 37 points, but one win would seal them from safety. And to be honest, they're 4 points clear of Nottingham Forest in 16th, played the same amount of games, 36 games. The lowest they can finish on now is 37 points. And the highest that Leeds in 18th can finish on is 37 points. So I think they're pretty much safe, to be honest. I really can't see West Ham dropping any further. Look, I think they're going to lose some key players in the summer. Rice obviously looks like he's on his way to Arsenal. Maybe even may lose Bowen or Ben Rama or something. The signings haven't worked for West Ham this summer. You know, Paqueta, Skamaka, they came in last season, really haven't worked. I think West Ham need to aim for a few lower key players and just bring them in, integrate them into the side and see if they make an impact, because they might still win the Europa Conference League this season. You could see West Ham in the Europa League. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But it hasn't been the greatest season for West Ham by any stretch of the imagination, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. Anyway, this has been Premier League Talk, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait for the next 2 weekends because a lot could still be decided. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.